This is what Richard Petty has to say about the current state of NASCAR racing. The Daytona 500 is one of the most exciting races in the world of motorsports. It is a 500-mile event that tests the skill, patience, and bravery of the best drivers in NASCAR. Over the years, this race has provided some of the most thrilling moments in racing history. But it has also been the site of some terrifying crashes that have raised serious concerns about safety. In 2025, the Daytona 500 once again proved why it is considered one of the most unpredictable races on the calendar. The race saw multiple crashes, high-speed battles, and even airborne incidents that left everybody shocked. Richard Petty recently spoke about how to make these races even more exciting. He believes that increasing the horsepower of the cars would make racing better. His argument is simple. If cars go faster, drivers will have to be more alert and skilled to handle the extra speed.
The way to make it more exciting is give them more horsepower and let them run faster. The faster they run, the more the driver has to stay on his toes. And when you get cars running 200 mile an hour instead of 185, all the drivers are not capable of running that speed that close to each other. So that's the first thing to really separate the cars, because that's the way it used to be.
His comments come at a time when NASCAR is facing criticism for how modern cars perform on superspeedways. One of the biggest issues is that current cars tend to stay in tight packs, which increases the risk of massive crashes. When multiple cars are racing inches apart at nearly 190 miles an hour, one small mistake can lead to disaster. That is exactly what happened during the 2025 Daytona 500. The race saw an astonishing 35 out of 41 cars involved in crashes, making it one of the most chaotic races in recent years. This level of wrecks has not been seen since 2019, and it has led many to question whether NASCAR's current car designs are making races more dangerous. One of the most frightening moments of the race was when Ryan Preece went airborne after making contact with Christopher Bell during Stage 3. Preece's car flipped in the air in a shocking crash that left everyone holding their breath. This was not the first time he had experienced such a terrifying incident. In 2023, he had flipped at the same track during the Coke Zero Sugar 400. After the race, Preece did not hide his frustration. He said that NASCAR needs to do something to prevent cars from lifting off the ground like that.
The thing I want to say as a father, as a racer, is we keep beating on a door hoping for a different result, and I think we know where there's a problem at super speedways. So I don't want to be the example of when it finally does get somebody. I don't want it to be me. You know, I got a 2-year-old daughter, and just like a lot of us, we have families, so something needs to be done, because cars lifting off the ground like that, I mean, that felt honestly worse than Daytona in 23. So
the problem with superspeedway racing is that it encourages peak racing. Because of the way cars are designed, they stay bunched together for long stretches of the race. And this makes the race exciting because fans love to see cars battling side by side at high speeds. But it also makes the race more dangerous because one mistake can trigger a massive pileup. This year's Daytona 500 showed just how dangerous this style of racing can be. Some experts believe that NASCAR's next-gen cars are part of the problem. These cars were introduced to improve competition and reduce costs, but many drivers feel they're not as safe as previous models. One of the biggest concerns is that these cars are too rigid. While they perform well in terms of speed and aerodynamics, they do not absorb impacts as effectively as older cars. This means that when a crash happens, the driver feels the impact more than before. Some drivers have even complained about how these cars handle in such high-speed pack racing, saying that they're harder to control. When cars race at speeds close to 190 miles an hour, the smallest error can lead to disaster. That is why some people believe that increasing horsepower, as Richard Petty suggests, could actually make racing safer. If cars are faster, drivers will not be able to stay in such tight packs for long periods. The added speed will naturally spread out on the field, reducing the likelihood of huge crashes. And this is how racing used to be in the past. The best drivers stood out because they could handle the speed better than the rest, but today, with most cars running at similar speeds, luck plays a much bigger role in determining who wins and who crashes. Ryan Preece's crash was a clear example of why something needs to change. His car, which weighed around 3,600 pounds, was traveling at nearly 186 miles an hour when it flipped. The force of the crash was so strong that parts of his car flew off, and for a moment, it seemed like the wreck could have ended much worse. Preece was lucky to walk away from the crash, but not all drivers have been so fortunate in the past. That is why NASCAR must continue to look for ways to make the sport safer without taking away the excitement that makes it special. Many fans love the high-speed action that superspeedways provide, but they do not want to see races turn into demolition derbies. In recent years, NASCAR has made several changes to try and reduce the number of airborne crashes. But the fact that 35 out of 41 cars were involved in wrecks during this year's Daytona 500 shows that the problem is far from solved. If NASCAR wants to keep the thrill of racing alive while also making it safer, they need to find the right balance between speed, competition, and safety. Some believe that adjusting the aerodynamics of the cars could help, or maybe limiting pack racing by changing the way the cars draft could be a solution. But the idea of increasing horsepower, as Richard Petty suggests, is gaining attention. If cars go faster, drivers will have to work harder to control them. This could reduce the large packs that lead to massive wrecks, making the races both safer and more competitive. The heart of the issue lies in the next-gen cars that were introduced in 2022. These cars were designed to improve safety, reduce costs, and create a more level playing field. But drivers like Petty and Hamlin argue that these cars have taken something essential away from NASCAR: speed and strategy. In the past, a skilled driver could make bold moves, pull away from the pack, and use raw horsepower to dominate a race, but now, things are different. Petty has explained that if a driver pulls out of line to make a move, they often get stuck and fall behind because they simply don't have enough horsepower. Instead of rewarding skill and aggression, the current system forces drivers into tight packs, where passing is difficult. The result is a racing style that feels more like a high-speed chess match than an all-out battle of speed and endurance. Denny Hamlin has pointed out that the Daytona 500 reflects the problems with the sport. He believes that NASCAR reduced horsepower to make the racing look better on TV, but in doing so, they've made it harder for drivers to actually race. Instead of seeing dramatic overtakes and daring maneuvers, fans often witness long stretches of single-file racing, followed by chaotic crashes when drivers get desperate to gain positions. If NASCAR finds a way to safely increase speed while improving car design, the sport could enter a new golden age. The challenge is to make the right decisions before another major crash forces change in a more painful way. Now, before you leave, just don't forget to comment down your thoughts on the situation. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well.